Good morning, RISLR group. So we are going to focus on subtracting with integers today. Subtracting is a little bit different than adding. Remember, when we're adding integers, we're just basically taking the signs, so like for example, if you have +5 and you add a +3 to that, you're going to get a +8, right? Because if you have 5 positives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you add 3 more to that, you're going to get 8, right? If I have -5 and I add -3 to that, I'm going to get -8, right? If I have 5 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I add 3 to that, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to have 8 altogether, okay? So, and then if we have different signs, so let's say if we have +5 and we're going to take away and we're going to add a -3 to that, right? We're going to end up with a +2. It's like almost taking away the $3, right? So if I have my number line here and I have a 0 and I have +5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need to add a -3 to that, I'm basically going to be taking that away, right? 1, 2, 3, I'm going to go towards the negative side. Remember, this is the positive side, this is the negative side, and if I'm going to add a -3, then I'm going to go towards the negative side, which would be a +2. If I had taken away if I had a -8, I would be taking away, I would be moving it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which would be a -3. Okay, so you can remember that. However, this time we are going to change our sign or operation to subtracting. Now, subtracting is a little bit different than adding. So for subtracting, it says this. What if you are subtracting, but there are not enough counters to take away? You merely add zeros until you have enough. So consider the problem. So here it says I have a +2 and I want to subtract a +5. Well, if I just write down a +2, right, there's my 2 positives, I can't take away 5 of them, right? So what it's telling me to do is an easy way is to add 5 zeros. Here's my 5 zeros. Remember, a positive and a negative together equals a 0. Okay. If I owe you $2, right, that means you're -$2. But if I give you $2, then now you're back to 0, right? So if I owe you $2, right, and I give you those $2, that's going to cancel each other out, right? Now you're back to having $0, okay? So that's what they're saying here, is if you add zeros, you add a positive and a negative, and a positive and a negative, and a positive and a negative. There's your 5 zeros right there. Now can I take away 5 of those positives? I can't, which is what they did right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They took them away, okay? But now, if I have a positive and a negative, that's going to cancel out, right? This will cancel out. And if I have another positive and a negative, that's going to cancel out. So what am I left with? I am left with 3 negatives, okay? Subtracting 5 is the same thing as adding a -5, which is basically what they say, right? Which is what it was shown here. They're saying that if I add those 5 zeros and then I take away those 5 positives, right, I'm left, it's like adding 5 negatives, right? Right here, I added 5 negatives, okay? Because these are taken away, these are still here, so it's adding 5 negatives. So what they're telling you is that subtracting 5 is the same thing as adding a -5. So +2 minus a +5, okay, is the same thing as positive 2 plus negative 5. So what they did, when they, instead of subtracting, they added the opposite. Okay, they added the opposite. So you take that subtraction sign and you change it to an addition sign, and then you change that positive 5 to a negative 5. So when you subtract, your number one rule is to remember to add the opposite. Add the opposite, okay? So for example, we have a positive 2 and we want to take away a positive 3. Well, I can't, right? I can't take away 3 positives. I only have 2 of them. So they're telling you if you add those 3 zeros, then you can take those away, right? You can take away the 3 positives, correct? Okay, and so then you're adding 3 negatives. So this actually turns into positive 2 plus negative 3. You're going to get a negative 1 here, right? Because this positive and negative will go together and they will cancel out. This positive and negative goes together and they cancel out. What am I left with? A negative 1. All right, let's try another one. Here I have a positive 1 and I want to take away a positive 4. Can't do that. I only have 1 positive. So I add my zeros here. I take away the 4. Okay, take away the 4. This is going to cancel out. So I'm left with a negative 3. This turns into positive 1 plus negative 4. Positive 1 plus negative 4, because I'm adding the opposite. Okay, then I would get a negative 3, right? Positive 1 plus negative 4 is going to give you a negative 3. Let's try this one. Ooh, this one is negative 2 and I want to take away 3 negatives. Can't do it. I only have 2 negatives. I'm going to add my zeros. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I can take away those 3 negatives. 1, 2, 3. Now I have this negative and this positive that's going to cancel out. I have this negative and this positive that's going to cancel out. What am I left with? A positive 1, because this turns into negative 2 plus positive 3. I'm going to get a positive 1. So remember, subtracting, you always add the opposite. So in your brain, you automatically turn that into an addition sign, and you turn that into a positive sign. Addition sign, negative sign. Addition sign, negative sign. Okay? So that's how you do subtracting. So these 2 cards are pretty much the same. So I'm just trying to see if there's any surprises. Doesn't look like it. So again, if you have any questions, guys, you can always email me, or 6th graders have done these as well. So if you want to talk to them, you can also ask them for some help. Okay? And